regimes, which are much simpler to implement. If you do a production sharing regime, somebody may turn around and say, well, I didn't spend the $100 which you thought I spent actually $500. So no, let's leave it at that. If you strike oil, let's share the revenue on that. Then, sir, the hydrocarbon exploration and licensing policy, HELP, was introduced by us in 2016, under which 2.5 lakh square kilometers or 144 blocks have been awarded. Of these, 131 blocks, sir, are under active exploration. Cumulatively, these entailed an investment of $3.37 billion US. Then I come, sir, to the open acreage licensing policy from round 1 to 8, where discoveries have been made. Sir, for a long period, our exploration and production efforts were undermined by the fact that out of the total sedimentary basin of 3.5 million square kilometers, there was 1 million square kilometers which was regarded as a no-go area. No-go area means, for some reason or the other, concerns of the Navy, Coast Guard, DRDO, you couldn't explore there. Sir, I'm very happy to inform the House through you, sir, that in the OALP 9th round, that is the open acreage licensing policy in round 9, 38% of the bids that have been received have been in this 1 million square kilometer of no-go area. And, sir, it is my expectation that after this House passes the bill and it is enacted, the OALP round 10, which will be held, which will benefit from the changes that we are seeking to bring through this amendment, sir. Sir, we have also made almost all the geological data available on the National Data Repository, which will start functioning, I'm told, by March, April next year. These measures by the government have borne fruit in increasing focus towards exploration and production and in attracting large-scale investment. Sir, whilst we are making these changes in the oil and gas sector and reforms to make these fit for purpose with the current needs and market conditions, we carried out large-scale stakeholder consultations. By stakeholder consultations, I mean we consulted not only the oil majors in the world, there are only about 5 of them, Exxon, BP, Chevron, Total, ENI, etc., on why they had ceased looking at India as an investment destination. And almost invariably, all of them, including the other stakeholders, told us that our legal framework required not just tweaking, but in some cases, major changes, sir. So we carried out a detailed assessment of the present legal framework, and based on in-house brainstorming and stakeholder discussion, we felt there was a need to align the existing framework with the requirements of the current situation in the world. And for this, I want to point out, sir, the original legislation which we had, which was a comprehensive legislation going back to the year of the Lord, 1948. This covered not only petroleum and gas sector, but minings, minerals, metals, the entire range. But I'll come to that in a minute. So the feeling was that we needed to tweak the existing framework with the requirements of contemporary times, including the emergence of new fuels like shale gas, shale oil, coal-based bed methane, natural gas, gas hydrates, the emergence of new technologies like carbon capture, utilization and sequestration, green hydrogen, and new frameworks such as sharing of resources and infrastructure between different operators to improve the viability of oil blocks. And, sir, new concepts like unitization will ensure that even when the natural resources flow between different contiguous blocks, disputes between operators can be resolved amicably. Sir, provisions of the amended Act will ensure that the operators will have a stable tenure in terms of tenure and terms of conditions for the lease. Alternate dispute resolution mechanisms envisaged in the law will ensure that disputes can be resolved in a timely, fair and cost-effective manner. Sir, this bill seeks to eliminate punishments in the form of imprisonment and provide for enhanced penalties to ensure compliance. The bill also seeks to provide for an expeditious mechanism for levy of penalties as well as for handling of appeals arising therefrom. All above provisions that I have mentioned, sir, intend to substantially improve the ease of doing business and make India an attractive destination for enhanced production of oil and gas to monetize our vast reserves. So I had briefly hinted a minute ago that the parent act, the Mines and Minerals Regulation and Development Act, we are seeking to amend through this bill, was enacted as far back as 1948. This was rechristened the Oil Fields Regulation and Development Act 1948, when a separate law for the mines and mineral sector was enacted by Parliament in 1957. This 1948 Act continued to carry the weight of the legacy of terminologies used in the mining industry, resulting in difficulties in implementation and delay in carrying on petroleum operations. It was also felt that we needed a more attractive and collaborative approach between the government and the contractors and move away from regulatory control which focused excessively on collecting royalties. So towards this end, we had multiple interactions and sought inputs from different stakeholders operating in the oil and gas sector, both in India and in foreign jurisdictions. We also looked at a few international frameworks in other countries from where we could glean best practices for suitable adoption in this effort to update our legislation and aligning it with our future needs. This amendment bill, therefore, before this August House for consideration, will not only give a fillip for further investments in the oil and gas sector, but also promote ease of doing business, sir. In this effort, we are guided by well-accepted principles and the need for ensuring stability, predictability, and continuity in our policies and laws. Sir, via this amendment bill, we not only intend to do away with the needless mention and regulation of mining activities, which is now dealt with by a separate law, as it already has a sector-specific law, the Mines and Minerals Act of 1957, but also to provide a simple, transparent, and stable regime for petroleum leases and petroleum production activities. We are overhauling the prevalent multiple licenses and lease document paradigm in favor of a single document framework specifying different contours of petroleum mining activities. In order to remove uncertainty, we propose to substitute an acrimonious mode of dispute resolution with a fast and predictable adjudication mechanism and arbitration for leases and authorization granted by the government. Further, sir, to provide a helping hand to small producers, we intend to share infrastructure and other mechanisms providing stability to the ecosystem. Sir, I might add here that our experience has shown that unless there is a drastic simplification in the approach to this resource, and unless we are able to do away with multiple crossroads resulting in litigation, into misinterpretation or different kinds of interpretation, the entire sector gets bogged down, as indeed it did for a 10-year period, because of a variety of reasons. As I said, individuals may not be able to blame, but if you have policies which are capable of being, or laws which are capable of being differently interpreted, those who wish to manipulate the system or misuse some of the provisions will happily do so. And therefore, it is intended to provide a clean break from that we are bringing in this amendment and this new bill. We are on course to reduce our committed greenhouse gas emissions and to become net zero by 2070, as the Honorable Prime Minister has resolved. The amendments have also been proposed keeping that commitment in mind. Efforts towards promotion of new and green technologies like green hydrogen, carbon capture and utilization will facilitate the development of comprehensive energy projects, which is the need of the hour. After these amendments to the Oil Fields Regulation and Development Act 1948 come into force, we are confident of enhanced participation by oil and gas entities in future bid rounds. And even in anticipation of this legislation, sir, in our outreach to them, we have said, come and join us. If you have the technical competence and expertise, join us in deep offshore deep sea seismic surveys. You don't need to make a commitment. We will compensate you for your services. And if we strike oil or gas, you will have the right to first refusal. But now we need a legislation which will ensure that what the government has done so far and what we need to do in future to meet the energy requirements of this important sector, which I believe, sir, contributes some 19-20% to government revenues. We are bringing this bill in. With these words, I would conclude and urge honourable members of this august House to support and pass this bill. I thank you, sir.
Thank you. Honourable members, now motion moved. I now call upon the members whose names have been received for participation in the discussion. माननीय श्री शक्ति सिंह गोहिल जी, 14 minutes.
धन्यवाद उपसभापति महोदय। मंत्री जी ने जैसे डिमांड पे बजट पे प्रवचन देते हो ऐसे पूरे क्षेत्र की बातें कही है और एक स्कोप वाइडन किया है। मैं